This bell is not an easy bell to ring. I wouldn't be surprised if Bustamante rang this bell. But I carry the symbol of the party today because it is such a historic moment that this is a victory for our founder, Bustamante, for Sir Donald Stanster, for you, Shearer.
Hey guys, welcome to Carib 21 Network. So today I am officially starting the Saturday Night Live program, and the first topic that we want to discuss is the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Holness. So as you can see on the thumbnail, is with this election win, does this make the Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Andrew Holness, Jamaica's best Prime Minister? And you know, this is a conversation. This is going to be a very interesting conversation because depending on which side of the aisle you're from, people are going to have difference in opinion. But what I'm going to try to do this evening is to try to bring some of the facts, you know, things that cannot be disputed into this conversation, and not just personal opinion, because a lot of times when we have these conversation, it's about personal opinion. If you are a People's National Party supporter, like, you're going to say that there's nothing that a Jamaica Labour Party Prime Minister has ever done to benefit Jamaica, and vice versa. So I think as Jamaicans we're mature, and whether you're a JLP, you know, a PMP, or you consider yourself independent, I think we should be able to have a conversation, and this is a real conversation. Like, is Dr. Andrew Holness now Jamaica's best Prime Minister? And for us to be having this conversation in 2025, this tells us that, you know, Jamaica is heading into the right direction. Because personally, I believe that the Jamaica Labour Party is now the party of Dr. Andrew Holness. I think that we are living in history, we're experiencing history. And this is the first time in my lifetime I can say that I believe that a prime minister has taken over leadership of the party. Because as far as I'm, you know, as far as I consider, I still think the People's National Party, I still believe that the People's National Party is the party of Michael Manley. When you think about the People's National Party, you think Michael Manley. Even though PJ Patterson won more election, like he was the first prime minister in Jamaica to win 3 straight, but people still look at the People's National Party as the party of Michael Manley. So for the first time in my lifetime, you know, growing up, we hear about talking about the Jamaica Labour Party as the party of Bustamante, and then Edward Seaga was so popular, even when at this event, and I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it so you can see when the Prime Minister called out some of the former Prime Minister, the former leaders of the Jamaica Labour Party, Edward Seaga. When he said Edward Seaga got more applaud than Bustamante. So the party really had became the party of Edward Seaga, because Edward Seaga was very popular. Even though he did not win a lot of election, he was very popular. But now I believe that we're living in history, we're experiencing history. And I believe for the first time we're seeing the changing of guards. And this, I believe, with this third win for the Prime Minister, I believe that officially the Jamaica Labour Party is now the party of Dr. Andrew Holness, aka Bro God, 1 p.m., whatever you want to call him. I believe that officially Dr. Andrew Holness is now more popular than Edward Seaga as a leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. So I'm going to play a little bit of the victory night. And what I'm going to do, as I said, I have some information, some history. We're going to go back in history and bring up some numbers because, they say man lie, woman lie, but numbers don't lie. So I'm going to bring up some numbers and we go through the numbers together, and you can feel free to share your thoughts, leave it in the comment section. I'll bring them up on the screen. So let's just play a little bit more of the victory night. And I'm going to show you when the Prime Minister, pay homage to the leaders, the founding leaders of the Jamaica Labour Party. And you see how the crowd responded to when Edward Seaga name was called. So let's play it.
For Edward Philip George Seaga. For Bruce Bowling. And I want to invite Mrs. Carla Seaga to just come and acknowledge the moment and take a bow to the crowd. Because all of this Mr. Seaga still, he must be happy. So, Desmond, you are only allowed to hold the bell temporarily. Do not ring it. I have a few things to say early on. Firstly, let me thank the thousands of Jamaicans who prayed for me personally and who prayed for the government and the country. I want to thank my wife and one of my sons is here, Adam. Come on.
Okay, guys, so as I said, so what I'm going to be doing tonight, I'm going to be going through some of the achievements of the different prime ministers, and I'm going to pretty much tell you why I believe that we are living in history, and I believe that officially this is the changing of the guards. I believe that with this win of the third straight win for Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, I believe that the Prime Minister is now officially the face of the Jamaica Labour Party. It's no longer Edward Seaga. I believe that this is now Andrew's party, 1 p.m. party. So let's go in some history. So Bustamante was very revered because Bustamante was the founder of the Jamaica Labour Party. So the founder is always going to be revered, and Bustamante was very revered. Bustamante, some background on Bustamante. Bustamante, he was born in Jamaica, but Bustamante left Jamaica at age 21. He went to Cuba, and he lived in Cuba for over 30 years before he returned to Jamaica and started the Jamaica Labour Party. The Bustamante part of his name was actually given to him in Cuba. So his original name was not Bustamante. Let me find. William Alexander Clark was his given name, and while living in Cuba, the Bustamante was added to his name because Bustamante is a very popular Spanish name, and that was added when he was in Cuba living for the over 30 years, where he was pretty much like an apprentice in the trade union, and that's why he came to Jamaica and started the Bustamante trade union. But however, when Bustamante is credited for Jamaica independence, because Bustamante was at the time the one that put forth the referendum when the British colony, when they wanted all the colonies to form a federation, and to the West Indies Federation that was formed from in the 50s, Bustamante was the one that pushed for independence. So people who love Bustamante credit him for independence. People who don't like him said that, look, you're the one that mashed up the West Indies Federation, and that Jamaica would have been better if we were still if we were a West Indies. We're part of the West Indies. The West Indies Federation didn't fall apart. People think that the Caribbean would have been better, but Bustamante thought that it's better if we were independent. And the referendum went through, and that's how Jamaica became its own independence. So he was credited for that, from people who loved him, people who did not love him, not so much. And Bustamante was only prime minister for one term from 1962 to 1967. Bustamante was prime minister. So he was one of the least successful prime minister. Prior to that, he was premier before we got independence. So his political career didn't start after independence, but we're talking about after independence. When you look at all the prime ministers, you would say Bustamante was the least successful one, because he was the prime minister. I think he was the prime minister when he was almost 80 years old. So he didn't have a lot of time being prime minister. So Edward Seaga was born in Boston. His parents relocated to Jamaica when he was like a baby, before he was 1 year old. So he pretty much a Jamaican. And Edward Seaga, I would say, was the second most successful leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. And he was prime minister from 1980 to 1989. And at this time, Jamaica was considered PMP country. Jamaica was considered PMP country during that time. And people that don't like Edward Seaga necessarily, they would say that, look, Edward Seaga only won because of what the American government did. So we all know back in the 70s, because of what Michael Manley stood for, socialism, and his relationship with Fidel Castro, the American government, the CIA was in Jamaica, and there was like a lot of things that were going on. And it is said, there are a lot of articles written in old newspaper clip that you can go research, that people believe that the CIA was the one that stopped Michael Manley from winning those elections and pretty much gave it to Edward Seaga. But Edward Seaga was also the longest leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. He was a leader of the Labour Party for 30 years. 30 years, he only won twice, from 1980 to 1989. So that wasn't a lot of success. Even though Edward Seaga was very popular, that wasn't a lot of success. And what the thing is, what the PMP is going through now, in terms of identity crisis, in terms of a lot of failure, like losing 3 straight elections. Edward Seaga, in the 80s coming up, Edward Seaga lost 4 straight elections to the People's National Party. Edward Seaga got his ass kicked like 4 times from the People's National Party. And for those who follow politics for a long time, they would know that what the People's National Party is going through right now, the Jamaica Labour Party went through that, because at the time, I remember Bruce Golding left the Jamaica Labour Party, and Bruce Golding formed the NDM because he thought that Edward Seaga was holding on to the Jamaica Party leadership too long. People were telling Mr. Seaga, like, look, you're never going to be able to beat P.J. Patterson. When Michael Manley handed over the party to P.J. Patterson, and P.J. Patterson came out and said, black man time now. And remember, Edward Seaga was coming out of the 1988 Gilbert, where Gilbert completely demolished Jamaica. About 75% of Jamaica was damaged. Edward Seaga got blamed for that, even though it's a hurricane. So he did not win again. Once Michael Manley handed over the party to P.J. Patterson, Edward Seaga did not win again. So Edward Seaga did not have a lot of success where that is concerned, but he was so popular, so loved, that the Jamaica Labour Party was still Edward Seaga Party. And the thing is, what is so good about this is because Andrew Holness was like a protege of Edward Seaga. And the thing is, Edward Seaga was the only prime minister that I had the privilege to have conversation with. And one of the things when we're talking about politics in 2025, and we're talking about how Jamaica has come a far way in terms of people not killing each other over politics anymore. And you can see PMP and GLP, even on election day, hugging up or going in the same car to vote in their colors. And we credit Jamaica for that because we have come a far way since 1980, the 1980 election. But one thing that changed my view about politics, why I don't believe in die-hearted PMP or die-hearted GLP, because when I was young and in the 90s, politics was still kind of tribal, and you still could not wear the colors that you want. You still could get beat up if you come out in your green or your orange. You still could get. And when I remember just meeting Edward Seaga, and I was working, I had the privilege to be able to work in a place where I could meet all these people. And the first time I saw, after a brutal election, I saw Edward Seaga and I saw PJ Patterson sitting at the same table. We were at this private event, one of those Jamaican billionaire hosting people, and we were at the private event, and I saw these two men sitting down, laughing and drinking. And I remember being about 19 years old at the time, and I said to myself, like, people out there, like, fighting, burning down people's house and doing all of these things, and these two men, PJ come and say black man time now, and a lot of stuff that was going on in politics. It was very tribal and dirty. And when I stood there and I saw the two men sitting down and laughing and drinking, I'm like, never again. I will not be a die-hearted GLP or a die-hearted PMP. I am going to be Jamaica first. And that is one of the things that changed my view about politics, why I believe that we should be able to have the conversation as Jamaicans. And if a JLP government do something good, give him credit. If a PMP government did something good, give them credit. So that's what I'm saying now. So Edward Seaga was very loved, very charismatic prime minister. And that's why he was so popular. But know what we saw last week with Andrew Holness, Dr. Andrew Holness winning. He's now the most successful Jamaica Labour Party prime minister. No matter how you cut it, how you twist it, how you turn it, he is the most successful. Like if you're looking at analytics, like he is the only prime minister to win 3 straight terms. He's the only Jamaica Labour Party prime minister to win 3 elections. He's the only Jamaica Labour Party prime minister to be prime minister 4 times. So no matter how you cut it, he is the most successful Jamaican Labour Party prime minister. And from what I'm seeing right now, I think I can honestly say I think he is the most loved. Before him, I would say Edward Seaga. But right now, I think Dr. Andrew Holness is the most loved Jamaica Labour Party prime minister in Jamaica's history. So now we have to come down now to Michael Manley and PJ Patterson. Michael Manley and PJ Patterson, they were the 2 most successful People's National Party prime minister. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play some more of the video, and then I'm going to break down why I believe that it is arguable, like this is a real argument now, that Jamaica was considered a PMP country like 10 years ago, because right now I think the Jamaica Labour Party now, with this win, they have won 10 elections, and the People's National Party, they won 9. And this is Andrew Holness' like 3rd straight election. So just do the math. Like if it's a football match, just do the math. Like for him to win, so it was 7 to 9 before he won 3 straight. So I think this put him in the category of being Jamaica's most successful prime minister and Jamaica's best prime minister. So what I'm going to do, as I say, I'm going to play some more of the video of his victory speech, and then we're going to break down between Michael Manley and PJ Patterson, and to make the argument why I believe that the prime minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, that you could consider him the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Jamaica's best prime minister. So let's just play some more of the video, and then I'll break it down.
God. Of course, the superwoman. And my mother. I want to thank them personally. I mean, you know, a political campaign, sometimes, you know, when they see the personalities, they forget that they are human beings with feelings and emotions and they can be objectified. It's very difficult, but I want.
Okay, let me talk a little bit about. I see someone said if Petrojam was Edward Seaga. I can't recall if Petrojam, but I know because the Jamaica Labour Party, I don't know if people might not know because, you know, we see the political rally and we see the Jamaica Labour Party with the bell and all of that, and the, you know, the People's National Party, the X beside the head, and people might not know what those symbols mean. But the Jamaica Labour Party was pretty much a capitalist party model based on the American system. And the Jamaica Labour Party was big on education. So Hard Trust NTA was one of the programs that Edward Seaga started, which is one of the best programs in Jamaica's history. I think I've only seen one other country that they model the Hard Trust on it, Bermuda. Bermuda came to Jamaica and they saw the model and they took the model. And Hard Trust NTA started pretty much doing like hotel first, and now I know they're doing like mechanics and stuff like that. And I know that the Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, have expanded on it, and now you can go to Hard Trust for free. So that was Edward Seaga. People that are probably over 40s, 50s might remember the free zone. Edward Seaga was the one that implemented the free zone, which was another model that was like one of the first, I would say, in the world. And even though the model was designed for mostly like outside investment, like investors coming from overseas, because the reality at the time, Jamaicans didn't have a lot of investors. So Edward Seaga was the one that, and I think the German School of Engineering, a lot of those things, Edward Seaga implemented those. Edward Seaga was big in music and all of that. So he did a lot, Edward Seaga, in his 8 years as prime minister. So I just wanted to put that there. So he, and the thing is, I think as Jamaican, as I said, I can't deal with this tribalism thing when someone from the Jamaica Labour Party will say, yo, like the PMP prime minister, what PMP prime minister do for the country, or someone who is a PMP say, we're a Labour right prime minister. All of them have done good and all of them bad. It's just to put the good on one side of the paper, put the bad and see which one, you know, you would put on the top, which one have accomplished more. And that is what I'm doing tonight. And that is why I believe that Andrew Holness is officially Jamaica's best prime minister based on the winning percentage. And trust me, like I have PMP costing me like for the past month. And I'm telling them, look, self-reflection and go look in the mirror and deal with what supposed to be dealt with, because the Jamaica Labour Party, Edward Seaga was in the same predicament like 30, 40 years ago. Edward Seaga could not beat PJ Patterson, and he faced it. Like even not just Bruce Golan. Bruce Golan left the party because of Edward Seaga and formed the NDM. And people might remember, I think David Pantan was his name, Lisa Anna's first husband. He was a rising star in the Jamaica Labour Party, and he also left the Jamaica Labour Party because people felt that they wouldn't get a chance because Edward Seaga was just not giving anyone else a chance. So, you know, you have to be objective when we're talking about politics. Like both PMP did good, and did some bad, and also the Jamaica Labour Party did some good and did some bad. So let's play some more of Andrew Holness' speech, and then I'll break down the two People's National Party leaders that I think that people are going to compare their achievements to Andrew Holness' achievement, and why I believe right now, I don't even think Andrew Holness haven't even put in the cabinet yet, and his third term is not even started yet. He just win the third term. And I believe that not even going into the term, he's already Jamaica's best prime minister. And the only thing can stop Andrew Holness right now is himself. He would have to do something outrageous to collapse his government to take him out of this conversation. But as of now, I believe that Andrew Holness is playing with house money. And right now, I don't think the only person can beat Andrew Holness now is Andrew Holness. So let's play some more of the video.
I want to thank my family here and abroad and all over who have withstood a tremendous onslaught, but they never gave up on me or on the people of Jamaica. I want to thank the political team. I think we have the best political team in the Caribbean. But allow me to, I do this at a risk, but I'm sure everyone will agree that my Deputy Prime Minister, Horace Chang, the General Secretary of the Jamaica Labour Party, deserves special commendation. You know, there's a special bond that has to be between the leader and the General Secretary of a political party. And Horace and I have been working for the greater part of 30 years together. We have been very good friends.
Okay, so let's break down the People's National Party prime ministers who people would want to compare in terms of being Jamaica's most successful prime minister. So we have Michael Manley and PJ Patterson. Both of them won 3 terms. However, Michael Manley, it wasn't consecutive. Michael Manley, in my opinion, is still the face of the People's National Party. When you talk about, even though PJ won, is what our generation know, and he won 3 straight elections, Michael Manley is still the face of the People's National Party. When you talk about the PMP, you talk about Michael Manley, Socialist PMP. That is what we talk about. And Michael Manley, I see some people trying to say Michael Manley was the worst, and a lot of people not giving Michael Manley credit for what Michael Manley did. But let me clear up that, just some history lesson. Michael Manley, he was the prime minister from 1972 to 1980. And then from 1989 to 1992, when he handed over to PJ Patterson. So between 1972 and 1980, some of Michael Manley achievement. Michael Manley, when we talk about minimum wage, I know minimum wage in this day and age don't seem like much. Like you might talk about minimum wage now and you kiss your teeth and say, like, minimum wage is not an accomplishment. But back in the 50s, when especially Black Jamaicans had no rights and people can just pay you whatever they want to pay you, and minimum wage was a big deal back in the 50s, in the 60s, coming up in the 70s. So minimum wage was one of Michael Manley's biggest achievement. Maternity leave was a big deal also. And the biggest achievement for Michael Manley, which Jamaica enjoys today, And someone can leave in the comment section if they know any other country with it. But I have traveled the length and breadth, and I've never seen any other country with a national housing trust. No other country. And national housing trust, if you're in Jamaica, you might say, that's not nothing. But if you live in Canada, you live in America, you live places in Europe, there's nothing comparable to a national housing trust where you can have a national housing trust mortgage that is like at least 30% cheaper than getting at the bank. So national housing trust was a big deal for Michael Manley. Michael Manley also implemented sick days, vacation pay. As a young man in Jamaica at the age 19, 20, I was working at the Pegasus Hotel at the time. And, when you work on Christmas time come and you get like 2 weeks, I think it was 2 weeks Christmas bonus we used to get back in those days. And everybody nice Christmas time, you can go do your big Christmas shopping. A lot of countries, they don't even have that now. I don't even think a lot of companies in Jamaica still do that. But Michael Manley was the one that implemented that, back in the 70s. And what a lot of people blame Michael Manley for is what happened between the 70s and the 80s. And let me explain. So because Michael Manley was a socialist government, America is a capitalist nation. They don't believe in socialism. They believe in big business, and the billionaires, they provide employment, and once they have the money to provide employment, then it would kind of trickle down. They call it the trickle down effect. Then it would trickle down to the middle class and to the poor people, and billionaires control the economy. They provide jobs and they control the market. But the socialism aspect was more government have control of a lot of stuff. Government can provide free education, free healthcare. The capitalist system, they didn't like that. So the American government, I think it was under Ronald Reagan, I can't remember, right? But I think it was Ronald Reagan. The American government was the government that came after Michael Manley. And in the 1970s, the CIA was stationed in Jamaica. There's a lot of article written about what happened in the 70s with Michael Manley. And Jamaicans that are old enough to remember that in those days, the middle class and the rich Jamaicans, they flee Jamaica. They went to Florida, they went to New York because of the sanction that was put on Jamaica by the American government. So the same way we see the 60, almost 70 years embargo that is still on the American government, on the Cuban government, we also had a similar, like an embargo type sanction on Jamaica, where they withhold money from international loaners. They withhold like aid from Jamaica because of the Michael Manley government. And there are a lot of images out there where Michael Manley was cussing and said, look, he's not going to bow down to the American government. And they made Jamaicans suffer until one of the election where Michael Manley did not contest and Edward Seaga won that election. So to say Michael Manley is the one that destroyed Jamaica in the 70s is to take away all the responsibility from America. So just imagine we're in 2025 now. We saw something similar under the previous administration, the American government, where they ordered the LGBTQ flag to be flown at the embassies in all the countries, and that was in Jamaica also. I think Donald Trump ordered down now that no government building should have that. Just imagine in 2025 now, the American government come and say, we want to implement like LGBTQ materials in all the schools in Jamaica, and the Jamaican government say no. There was an infamous video where they were interviewing Bruce Golding about LGBTQ education and stuff, and he said, no, like, we're Jamaicans, we control our education, we control, and that is not our thing. Just imagine if the American government said at the time that, look, if you don't do this, then We cut you off from all international funding, all everything else. Just imagine that. Would you blame the government in power, or would you blame the American government for trying to force something on you and try to pretty much cut you off because you're not in acceptance? That is what happened with Michael Manley. And Michael Manley, even after Michael Manley admitted that a lot of Jamaicans suffer because of him, and when Michael Manley won again in 1989, Michael Manley took a softer approach, and he went back and befriended the American government, and that's how Michael Manley went back in power. And once Michael Manley went back in power that time, the People's National Party never lost again until then. The People's National Party never lost again until Bruce Golding won over, I think he won over Portia at the time. So yeah, that is just some history. So Michael Manley did a lot of good for Jamaica. So okay, so enough about Michael Manley now. Let's talk about PJ Patterson. So PJ Patterson was considered not the most loved prime minister, but people would consider him as the most successful because he created history in Jamaica, becoming the first Jamaican prime minister to win 3 consecutive terms. So PJ Patterson did that. And I don't think he was as well. He wasn't as loved as Michael Manley. PJ Patterson also did some good and some bad. Like, people can recall telecommunications in Jamaica was monopolized. PJ Patterson was the one that got rid of the telephone monopoly and brought in Digicel, because before Digicel, like, I think it was it cable and wireless? Somebody can remind me. I think it was cable and wireless. And the amount of money you pay for one phone call with cable and wireless at the time. And the prime minister broke up the monopoly and brought in Digicel, and it came to a point where someone said all madman have cell phone, and that was PJ Patterson. So PJ Patterson did that. He did the JUTC, Highway 2000. PJ Patterson started the Highway 2000 project, and it depends on how you feel about the relationship with the Chinese government and the Jamaican government. It depends on how you feel about that. Some people like it, some people don't like it. But PJ Patterson was the one that started that. And one of the things that I have to give Andrew Holness credit for, because Andrew Holness, in I think 2 interviews that I saw Andrew Holness on, he admitted that a lot of stuff that PJ Patterson did was good, and he continued. As you can see, the JUTC bus, Andrew Holness is building out on the JUTC bus. He's bringing in electric bus and stuff like that. Seaga was blamed for shutting down the JOS bus. So it is good to see in 2025, like, if a People's National Party leader starts something that is good, we see Andrew Holness carrying it on. We see Andrew Holness doing a lot of stuff with NHT, which is that is a People's National Party legacy also. And he's doing stuff with that. He's also doing stuff with the JUTC. So he gets a lot of credit for that. So yeah, so PJ had a lot of good and a lot of bad. He had the FinSac, the FinSac and some of the stuff. I remember even myself lining up at, I think it was Workers Bank at the time. Workers Bank, when the PJ Patterson government went in, people blamed them for going in early and to collapse the bank. And there's another bank, I think it was Citibank, or I can't remember the name of the bank. But FinSac was a big like X on PJ Patterson's administration. A lot of people did not blame him. A lot of people blame Omar Davis because he was finance minister. But at the end of the day, like, he was the prime minister. So he got a lot of the blame. So Michael Manley, PJ Patterson would be the only 2 people standing in the way of Andrew Holness in terms of achievement and greatness. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut back to some of the video, and then I'm going to explain Andrew Holness his legacy and why if he steps down tomorrow, he would still be considered the greatest prime minister. So let me just play a little bit more of the video and then I'll explain why.
And very good professional associates. We have a mind share and we are both very much committed to Jamaica, like everyone in the team. I want to thank you, the supporters. You would know how much you mean to me. For all of you who squeeze up on the bus to come to the meeting, who go on the long motorcades with us, for all of you who take on the PMP them when you hear them with the lights. But for all of you who have stood up and chosen Jamaica, I say thanks to you, the supporters of the party. You make us stronger and we stand here on your shoulders. And thank you. God bless.
Okay, so yes, I saw someone say that Finsack was Jamaica's, one of the biggest scandal in Jamaica's history, right? Yeah, Finsack was definitely, because a lot of people died. People don't remember those things, but at the time, I think I was about 20, 22 or so, and I remember Finsack like it was yesterday, because I used to work in an environment where a lot of the top Jamaicans, the Jamaican million and billionaires, were. And I can't remember the name of the bank right now. I think it's Citibank or one of those banks. But I remember the owner. The owner used to be in a circle where I used to work, so I would know them very well. And to see like one of these billionaire just maga down like major dog, because all the money, everything that happened with Finsack was crazy, and people committed suicide at the time, and it was a mess. It was truly a mess, and that is why I believe that I said it during this election when we talk about the Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, and the Integrity Commission. I don't think it's going to move Jamaican people a lot, and it didn't, because people that are old enough to remember Finsack will know that whatever scandal is out there now is nothing compared to Finsack. Nothing at all compared to Finsack. And under the People's National Party administration, as I said, they had the Cuban light bulb scandal was another one. The Cuban light bulb scandal was another one where apparently like we got free bulbs from Cuba, and just the distribution in Jamaica caused taxpayers millions or billions back in the days, and that was another big scandal. So that's why I believe that when we are talking about, at some point we're going to have to get over that, but when we're dealing with election right now, corruption, like harping on corruption, talking about you thief or you do this or you do that, I don't think that is going to move voters too much, because I believe that most Jamaicans believe that all politicians are thief. Most Jamaicans believe that all politicians are thief. And so some people are going to say, you know what, if every politician a thief, we just go with the one that delivering result, because nepotism is going to be a part of it. And the thing too, like a lot of Jamaicans don't consider a lot of the stuff like theft, like nepotism. Like, so like if a politician give him cousin a road work, or him wife open a restaurant and supply food to government workers or any type of thing to do with nepotism, most Jamaicans would not consider that as corruption. It is corruption, but most Jamaicans would have said, like, the man hustle. So I think that was one of the big mistakes what the People's National Party did this time around. They were just trying to place their bet on just saying Andrew corrupt, Andrew corrupt, Andrew corrupt, and people are just going to vote out Andrew Holness based on corruption, but it backfired and it just didn't work. So Andrew Holness now, Andrew Holness, why I believe that the Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, is Jamaica's most successful Prime Minister, or we can say the best Prime Minister, the GOAT, whatever you want to say. And as I said, I don't believe him have to lift another straw in order to stay in that position. I believe that just winning this election put him in that category as Jamaica's best Prime Minister. So the facts are, like, Andrew Holness became the second Prime Minister to win 3 terms, right? Andrew Holness, if Andrew Holness stays in office and decide that I'm not going to run again, Andrew Holness has like 4 years. And if Andrew Holness stay 4 years, he would surpass PJ Patterson as the most successful in terms of time spent as Prime Minister, because both of them already won 3 straight elections. So he would have 4 years from now, he would have been over 14 years, because PJ Patterson stayed, 14 years. So if he stayed like 4 more years, he would be over that, and he can just retire and do whatever and still be the most successful. The other thing is that the debt to GDP ratio is one of the big things. Jamaica, since we got independent, Jamaica was in debt from independence. We were just in a lot of debt from independence. And the debt went up to, I think it was 120 point something percent. And when Jamaica went up to that, Jamaica in the early 2000s or whatever was pretty much considered like on the verge of collapse. The IMF, like every international finance organization, looked at Jamaica as the country that is about to collapse. And for the Prime Minister, for the Jamaica Labour Party, in 15 years to bring Jamaica from 120, I think it was 125 at the highest, debt to GDP ratio to 60 something now, to cut the debt to GDP ratio in half, that is a massive thing for Jamaica. And what that means for Jamaica is that Jamaica have so much money. They have never had this amount of money in their reserves. And I believe that Jamaica, out of all the Caribbean, even Trinidad and Tobago with all their oil money, Jamaica have the most reserves than any other Caribbean country right now. So Jamaica, that's why I said the Prime Minister is playing with house money, because the Prime Minister can get up tomorrow and just start spending like crazy. Prime Minister can get up tomorrow and decide to build 10 hospitals. That's how much reserves that they have. They are not, like, at the time, I think they're saying we're paying down like something like 60 cents on a dollar for debt or something, like some crazy amount. And even though it's on record that Portia Simpson was the Prime Minister that put it in motion to pay down the debt, and Andrew Holness admit that Portia Simpson started the process. They just finished it. You have to give his administration, because he could have still borrowed money from China, from other country, and run up the debt. But they stick to what Portia Simpson did, and they pay down the debt. And now, we saw the police force. I saw what's her name, Miss Auntie Dana. Auntie Dana said, the police, no, you don't have to put a sticker up on your car anymore. The police car, them turn up, like, police can stop you and come out of your car and can just check your license plate, and so Jamaica is moving ahead. The other day, I saw some of the new bus in Jamaica with the electric bus, and you're going on one of them and the air condition just turn up and you're like, wow, like this can't be Jamaica. So the prime minister, so you have to give him credit for that. Debt to GDP cut in half. The development that is going on. There is 2 projects right now in Jamaica, 2 hotel projects that each over $1 billion. Those are the 2 first $1 billion projects in the Caribbean. And those hotels, because I'm a hotel person, like I work in hotel and hospitality most of my life. So hotel is something that, I geek out where hotel thing is concerned. And when searching around the world, the only place I see $1 billion hotels going up right now is in the Middle East. I think they say one is going up somewhere in America. I know Las Vegas or somewhere. But for Jamaica to have the Harmony Cove, I think it's called, even though that was like 20 years in the making, and it was not necessarily under the JLP administration. The talk was there from under the PMP, but it come to fruition now. $1 billion, one hotel. So if investors are going to invest in your country and they're going to invest $1 billion, no matter you see the travel advisory and people say don't go to Jamaica and Jamaica bad and you can't come out of the hotel. Jamaica hotel, they're full. So investor confidence in Jamaica is up there. So the prime minister is on the watch right now. So you have to give him credit for that. Like if tourism is low, he's going to take the blame. So investment is high, tourism high. So the prime minister have to take credit for that. And the final thing that I believe that this is the icing on the cake for the prime minister, what would make the prime minister the most successful is the 41% reduction in crime. That is a massive deal. Massive. I can't even talk how big that is. That is a massive deal. 41% reduction in crime. When I talk to Jamaicans all over the place. I talk to Jamaicans in Europe. I talk to Jamaicans in America. And even myself, I remember the first time I left Jamaica in the 2000s and I went to Bermuda and I saw how Bermuda was successful. And I remember sitting down one day with tears in my eyes and I'm like, yo, look at Bermuda is so small. You can walk out Bermuda. That is how small it is. You can drive from point A to point B in 1.5 hours. And Bermuda was one of the richest countries in the world. No resources, no bauxite, no oil, nothing at all, just a piece of rock and good political management and everything. And Bermuda was one of the richest country in the world at the time. Their dollar was in line with the American dollar, 1 for 1. And I sat there and I'm like, yo, Jamaica have bauxite, we have marl, we have this, we have that. And Jamaica is so poor. So to see what is going on now, and as I say, I've been having this conversation with a lot of Jamaicans, and Jamaicans say, look, Jamaicans in the diaspora, like if the crime problem is fixed, Jamaica no way for old people. Jamaica would not have enough space to hold people like if the crime problem fixed. So seeing a 41% reduction in crime is a massive deal for Jamaica right now. And I believe that the only thing the Prime Minister have to work on right now, in my opinion, is education. Because the education took a beating from COVID and the education numbers went down drastically. And it is not just in Jamaica, it's right across the Caribbean. Like we saw the result from the Caribbean exams and stuff, like they're all low, not just Jamaica. Everywhere in the Caribbean is low. And so to see the reduction in crime, that is a massive deal. So if the Prime Minister can continue on that reduction, I'm telling you, Jamaica now enough space for old people, because I know quite a few people already that has returned to Jamaica. I know I've been seeing videos. I've seen Jamaicans posting videos from America, from Canada, documenting their journey going back to Jamaica because, people are complaining about North America now, that North America is like a third world country. So it's better to just go back to Jamaica. Both Canada and America have some of the highest homeless rate right now in the world. And I'm not talking about homeless like Jamaica. When people are homeless in Jamaica, you're talking about someone who have mental health issue and stuff like that. The people in America and Canada right now that are homeless, they are people that are working. They're working 40 hours a week, and they are still living in their cars. They're going to shelters. They're sleeping outside on the pavement, sleeping in parks. And that is not happening in Jamaica. If you're Most people that are homeless in Jamaica, it's a mental health problem. Or I saw like some people run from their home, like people from LGBTQ community that said they're not comfortable staying home because they might get hurt. But we don't see as much homeless people in Jamaica like what we're seeing in Canada and in America right now. So that is a big deal. The crime is a big deal. The minimum wage, yes, and that was one of the new promise, that 32,000, and I believe that is very. I believe that they can achieve that, and I know it's a big thing, and a lot of Jamaicans, and I know the private sector organization, because what are they going to say? The private sector organization, right? Like every time since I've been a boy in Jamaica, and there's talks about the minimum wage being increased, the private sector organization is always the first to come out and say that's not possible. But it is possible, because with our lowest unemployment rate now in the history of Jamaica, and one of the things that a lot of people not talking about, that's why sometimes I don't listen to everybody, because I know a lot that's going on. I know in the hotel industry in Jamaica right now, they are going overseas to get workers to work in the hotel industry. Because as I said, like that is my industry. They are going overseas to get workers from Spanish countries to come to Jamaica to work in the hotel industry, and that no make no sense. A lot of Jamaicans have to take accountability. Also, a lot of Jamaicans are lazy. A lot of Jamaicans are lazy. A lot of people don't want to work. A lot of people see the hotel as like beneath them, like, yo, I can't work at hotel, go serve white people and stuff like that. As a little youth, myself growing up in Cockburn Pen, where when you're growing up in Cockburn Pen, like you have more access to guns than you have access to work. And I tell people all the time that the hotel industry is what saved my life. The hotel industry, going to the hotel industry, working from, you're getting way more than minimum wage, so that's a start. If you know what you do, you get a lot of tip, because people, if you're charismatic and you know to talk to people, you get good tips and stuff like that. So the hotel industry is ripe for people to go and work. And the thing with the hotel industry, it doesn't require a lot of education to go in the hotel industry and work. And I remember when I just entered the hotel industry, as I said, a little youth coming from Cockburn Pen, never say white people yet. You go into the hotel, and you come from the ghetto, so you're ghetto youth, and you're chat ghetto, you do everything ghetto. And you work in the hotel, and you get to learn, speak proper English, so the guests can understand you. If you use a knife and fork, you never say knife and fork in your life, because you sit on the sidewalk and eat a dinner, stuff like that. And you get a sense of change, like you see difference. You come out of the ghetto lifestyle, and you see a difference when you go into the hotel. You see that there's a different world out there to live. So I tell people all the time, the hotel industry changed my life. Everybody that I worked with in the hotel industry from 1993 until now, when I try and find these people, there are people in Dubai, there are people like in working on a cruise ship, there are people all over the world working. So with that, the lowest unemployment rate, the crime rate, as it is, if the prime minister just continue on this, low crime rate, unemployment rate, and all of that, minimum wage. We just need to work on education, and continue to work on crime, and Jamaica is going to be all right. So, because of those reasons, I believe that Dr. Andrew Holness is the best prime minister that Jamaica has ever seen. And I'm not saying that because I'm not a Labour, right? Like, as I said, like, I told people, like, my house that I grew up in was a PMP headquarters, in a Cockburn Pen. As a little youth growing up, like, you see the Michael Manley billboard, them one side, the yard of the fence and stuff like that. And as I shared earlier, what changed my perspective on politics in terms of not being a dieted Labourite or a dieted PMP was seeing Edward Seaga and PJ Patterson after a brutal election sitting at the same table, laughing, talking, and drinking. And I saw in the last election, Christopher Tufton, they were going back and forth, him and Damon Crawford, and he was on an interview and him said, yo, tell Damon, come link me after the election, we'll go have a drink. So while Jamaicans, while us out here like tribalizing with each other and I tell each other about their mother, and people in the comment section come and say, yeah, B-boy, because you support Andrew Holness, and you're this and you're that, and a dirty boy, like all these comments in the comment section. And I'm like, no, like I voted for PMP, I voted for JLP, and anybody that I feel is doing a better job, that's what I'm going to vote for, because I'm Jamaican first. Me never ban PMP not upon my birth paper. JLP is not on my birth paper. JLP is not in my passport. When you look in my passport, it's Jamaican. I'm a Jamaican first, and whichever way I want to vote, that is what I want. That is what I would do. And even though, I wasn't in Jamaica this election to vote, I said that the People's National Party under Mark Golin could not win the Jamaica Labour Party. And it is what happened, So it's not like that was my opinion. And that is what happened. And even after the election, I believe that the PMP, they made tough. They made tough because I'm saying, like, look, Mark Golin needs to step aside and give someone else a chance, because Mark Golin is not going to beat Andrew Holness. The same way Edward Seaga could not beat PJ Patterson is the same way that Mark Golin is not going to beat Andrew Holness. And me saying that is not taking away from Mark Golin being a good businessman. It's not saying Mark Golin is a bad person. It's not saying I'm a Labourite. No, it's just the reality. I've been around politics long enough, and Mark Golin will never beat Andrew Holness. He doesn't have the swag. He doesn't have the heart of the people. And no matter how he wants to say Andrew Thief and Andrew that, like, he's not going to beat Andrew Holness. Andrew Holness resonate with a lot of young Jamaicans, born Spanish town in a boathouse and become prime minister. And Andrew Holness is a very intelligent prime minister. He's very charismatic, and I think someone else have to come to beat Andrew Holness. I said it like I thought Lisa Anna would have been the best chance. No, she left the party. Damon Crawford is there. I don't know if Damon Crawford is mature enough, but I just know that Mark Golin is not going to beat Andrew Holness. So this, I'm going to wrap it up there. This was our first live. What I'm trying to do, just test out the live. It's officially called Saturday Night Live, every Saturday night, and it will be a call-in. It will be more of a call-in. So you'll have the opportunity to call in next week. The number is right there. It's a WhatsApp number, and we're going to take calls. And one of the things what I want to do is to have like deep, intelligent conversation. I don't want, this space is not like a tribal space, because I go on YouTube and I see, you have some PMP chat room and you have some JLP rooms, and them talk bad about each other and said this prime minister no good, him never do nothing. No. Intelligent conversation where, yes, both respectful and, you know, you don't have to tell nobody, say them a B-boy or go S your mother or stuff like that. Have conversation, bring your points forward. Tell me why you think Mark Golan would have been the best prime minister. Tell me why you think Andrew Holness is the best prime minister. Have intelligent, respectful conversation. And that is it. So that is what I want to facilitate. So guys, you know, that is it for our first Saturday night live. And yes, as I said, I'm going to next week we'll have the phone that you're able to call in. But you know, I'll end by saying, you know, I think I don't want to see a dominant Jamaica Labour Party that is going to win every election, because the same thing happened when the PMP was in government. When the PMP win 4 straight election, people thought that the PMP just didn't care about people anymore. So I believe that we as Jamaicans, we deserve a good opposition party. Now the People's National Party, you know, they have 28. I know them can go fight it out in a the cabinet. They can go and fight it out and fight for the Jamaican people, because as much as I know that the Jamaica Labour Party would have won, there are things that is coming up that I'm watching them. You know, I'm watching the whole thing with the Airbnb, the new tax and stuff like that, and I don't think it's a good idea. And I hope the PMP is there to fight them so it don't go through, because the big hotels come and make billions of dollars and come out of Jamaica, and the little man them at Jamaica where I build up the house and I rent Airbnb should not be taxed. You know, the tax break where you get the big hotel them, take some of that tax break and do not tax Airbnb. And so that is one of the things that I'm looking forward to, a strong PMP cabinet so that they can fight stuff like that, because I don't think that taxing small Jamaican business people more is the answer. So guys, that was it. I'm going to leave the chat right there. So as I said, next week, same time, same place, and you'll have the opportunity to call in. So that is it for now. And don't forget to like and share, subscribe. If you're not subscribed, just subscribe. So when the notification for the live comes up next week, you will be the first to know. So that is it. And see you next week.